Alrighty, guys, we're here for Beyond the Mat Extra here on a Tuesday, offering up a little bit of news ahead of our weekend review show tomorrow night that I will be doing with my tag team partner, Kyle. We had a little bit of news come out about our tribal chief over the weekend. Wanted to clarify a little bit of that because we're getting news upon news upon news from multiple different outlets telling us a lot of different things about his future. Where is he going? Is he going to be gone for the summer? New contract, what's the deal with that? We also saw Cody Rhodes in an advertisement for Money in the Bank during the Backlash pay-per-view, and he indicated that the Money in the Bank winner is going to be having a main event at WrestleMania, which would be a huge departure from what Money in the Bank has been up to this point. So we'll get into that and discuss what that means if they do change it and what they could change it to, the benefits and the downsides of it. But first, let's get into Roman Reigns here. Over the weekend, he cut a promo in Trenton. He indicated that he may not be coming around this area for a while and that he really wanted to thank the fans. Genuine promo by him. Great for the fans to be able to see him, appreciate them in that way. And really all it is that he's in the middle of a contract negotiation right now. In fact, that contract may actually be complete. We've heard reports from Meltzer about this, that he's not going to be doing house shows. We've seen PW Insider come out with reports that he is not going to be doing anything whatsoever over the summer between June 19th and between Labor Day. Those things are kind of worrisome if you're a WWE fan and you're a fan of Roman Reigns, because let's face it, right now he's holding both of the top championships in the company. So if he were to take a hiatus from June until Labor Day, about to say Memorial Day, from June until Labor Day, there would be no titles for anybody at the top of the card to feud over. Not to mention, if it is June 19th that they say that he's going to be going on hiatus, I don't think there's enough time between now and then for them to get one of the belts off of him, unless he were to just drop it. But if he was going to do that, then why wouldn't he have done it by now? So to me, we need to wait for more news to come out, and that's what I've done. That's what I think that we're all doing. We're waiting to see what's really going to happen. Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp, has reported that they have no information regarding a hiatus for Roman Reigns. They have heard of the contract renegotiation and that he will be taking less time in house shows. And I think that's probably more of what the new news form really is all about. Dave Meltzer did report that he would be doing much less. I think that's really what we're going to see here. We're going to see him not doing as many house shows, or really many at all, because he's been doing a lot for 10, 12 years now. He's been doing all these house shows as the unified champion, which is very respectful. You know, a lot of people have been champion in the past and they don't show up for the house shows. They only come to the TV shows. Roman's done TV, dark matches, house shows, pay-per-views, everything it takes for this company. And he's really been an admirable champion while he's been in there. And he's been the kind of champion that, as a fan, I want to have representing the company, regardless if he's a babyface or a heel. Now, if he were to leave in June 19th, let's just say that that is what happens. What's going to happen then? He could drop the belt to somebody on Raw. They could have a tournament for it with the guys on Raw. He could drop it to McIntyre in an actual match. You never really know, but I just don't see them being able to get there in just a couple mere weeks from now to June 19th. I think that Roman Reigns is going to end up being here for the summer. I believe it has come out with another news outlet that the initial reports of the hiatus are false, but we also never know really anything until it's finally reported permanently. One of the news outlets that I feel does honest reporting and gives the final say when they truly know the truth is Fightful Select, and that's what I rely on. They have not reported anything on this. Meltzer doesn't really know what's going on. We're getting multiple conflicting reports from Ringside News because we're getting different reports from other podcasters and other members of the community. A lot of people are speculating on this because it's an important thing. I've got my sources of my own that have told me different things about this situation. And again, like I say, we need to all be patient, wait for the real news to come out. There's a ton of clickbait that I think that we all fall into sometimes. Sometimes it's real news, sometimes it's not. We all have different things that pique our interest. So there's nothing wrong with clicking on things to checking things out, because I do the same thing. I'm interested in what's going on. I want to know what's happening too. So we got Roman Reigns reported to be leaving June 19th, possibly. Let's just play that out real quick if that were to happen. Now, the first thing you think is, why does he need to take a hiatus? Does he need to take it just for family reasons? Is he taking it for personal vacation? Is he taking it for medical purposes? Is he going to Hollywood? What's going on here? So now we all know he has the battle with leukemia that he constantly is fighting lifelong there, and he has overcome serious bouts with it twice. That's not the issue here. There's also no injury issue with him either, and he doesn't have any Hollywood things lined up right now. Of course, that could change at any time, and that's why he has had his contract renegotiated to allow him to have extra time, more time with his family. His contract is stating that he's not going to be doing European tours for more than 3 or 4 days at a time. So he's not going to spend weeks away from his family. He's also going to have a reduced role at house shows, maybe doing little to no house shows, as I mentioned earlier. And of course, TV, he may dial back a little bit. But again, back to the scenario. Let's just say that he does go away on June 19th for the summer. What happens to the title? Is it a tournament like I mentioned earlier? Does he just hang on to him for the whole summer and we have no champion on either show? What's going to happen? And that's why I don't think that this is something that is actually going to occur. I don't think Roman Reigns is going to take a hiatus. I do think we will see less of him. I do think that's why the people in Trenton got that promo at the house show on Saturday. I saw it myself. A couple people posted it. Audio, if you're able to make it out, had him thanking the fans and indicating that he's reaching a different point in his career. Now, is that point in his career a point where he goes to Hollywood like John Cena and The Rock does? Well, I definitely think that's possible. He's got it in with his cousin Dwayne. But at the same time, Roman Reigns, extremely talented, certainly has a future to do something successful in Hollywood, but absolutely nobody is Dwayne Johnson. Maybe Roman Reigns will be a better version of The Rock when he makes it to Hollywood, but I think that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is about as high as you can get as far as success, going from WWE to Hollywood, followed by John Cena. I don't see Roman Reigns really getting to that level of stardom in Hollywood, but he certainly can be very successful. And because of that, I don't think that he'll ever leave the WWE for Hollywood unless he gets a really lucrative deal with some kind of movie franchise that doesn't allow him the time to work with WWE. I think as long as Roman Reigns can wrestle, he will appear on WWE television and programming. He just needs to get to a point where he's taking a little less wear and tear on the body. Like I said, these house shows that he does over and over again, they're great for us. I respect the hell out of the guy for doing it. Last week, I saw him in a house show with Drew McIntyre. They went 35 minutes. He's the champion of the company. He does not need to do that, but he does it for us. I think we should all appreciate that, whether we like his character or not. He's been doing a great job, and I really respect him. Now, if he doesn't end up leaving for the summer, what does that mean? Who's he going to feud with? We got to tease Shinsuke Nakamura again last week. I think that Sami Zayn is going to be the little rat for the bloodline to try and help them figure out things that are going on behind the scenes there. It might involve things with Drew McIntyre, might involve things with Shinsuke Nakamura, but we did hear Shinsuke say he does not like the bloodline because they took out Rick Boogs. Maybe he has an issue with the Usos. Maybe it's with Roman Reigns. Who knows? But I think that it's going to end up being that we get a Shinsuke Nakamura Roman Reigns feud very briefly, just so that they can heat up Drew a little bit more for his eventual one-on-one match with Roman Reigns. You never really know what they're going to do, though. The way that the main event at Backlash ended kind of left us hanging with a little bit of our hands in the air saying, wait a minute, what happened here? Because we did see Roman Reigns eat an RKO from Riddle. We saw him eat a Claymore kick to the face, served up by Drew McIntyre. So there was two different situations where Roman Reigns could have been pinned and could have lost, but he was saved by the Usos. So there's definitely something there for him left over with Orton and with McIntyre because of the fact that they were not involved in the finish. Roman Reigns took advantage of a window to fold Riddle up with that spear, put the pin on him, and end the match. And it also demonstrated that the bloodline needs Roman Reigns to be strong. They need him to end the big matches like they did at that pay-per-view. So a lot of people thought that the finish was a little bit wonky. I did too at the time. I'm trying to make sense of it myself, and I think that that's what it is. I think that they protected Drew out of the finish. They protected Orton out of the finish. They highlighted main event Jey Uso and Riddle with the RKO off the top rope and a little standoff they had in the ring. But at the end of the day, they had the tribal chief end the match, and they had Riddle eat the pin. Now, you never know. That could be a tease there with RK Bro eventually splitting. RK Bro getting a little bit of dissension because Orton may get pissed that Riddle lost the match. He also may get pissed that Riddle did a swanton onto him in their title match last night against the Street Profits. You never know. But I really think that WWE wants to keep the tag team together as far as RK Bro. I think that they're going to revisit the tag unification picture. That's why we saw them bring it up last night on Raw. It makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't RK Bro be okay with just going into a 6-man tag match? Why would they want to do that instead of the unification match just because Paul Heyman said? So it makes great storytelling sense that they got annoyed by this and they're now going to SmackDown on Friday to confront the Usos. So we'll see what happens with that. But back to Roman Reigns. If he remains over the summer, who are his opponents going to be? We know that Brock Lesnar is going to return. We know we're heating up Cody Rhodes for a big babyface run. And we know that Drew McIntyre's basically ready and waiting in the wings. So are we going to see McIntyre at Hell in the Cell? Are we going to see him at one of the stadium shows? I think that their best bet is to save the McIntyre-Reigns feud for one of the bigger stadium shows. It's a feud that needs to happen between the two of them because of the fact that Drew McIntyre is one of the guys in the company that really gets in the ring, looks like a specimen, and can take care of Roman Reigns in there as far as beating him and as far as working with him in a safe way. So I think we're going to see that matchup. He's been talking a lot in interviews about how the championships need to be separated. They need one on each show so everybody can fight for it. McIntyre's been a huge spearhead of that idea. So I think that McIntyre is a very big candidate to take one of the titles off of Roman Reigns when the time comes. I also think Cody Rhodes is as well. And on top of that, we also have somebody like Orton, who is waiting in the wings and sort of under the radar here. Nailed the RKO in that match. I think that means something. I think the fact that he hit the RKO and dropped Roman with it lets us believe that Orton certainly has a claim that he deserves to face Roman Reigns one-on-one at some point. And maybe we'll get to that through all this tag match, unification, confrontation stuff we're going to see on SmackDown. What I do know is that WWE programming's done a pretty good job of setting up some storylines and progressing them, and they're doing so over TV. Some of them we may not like as much as others, but there's definitely somebody who likes one of the segments that we don't like out there. And there's something for everybody, I believe, on all the shows. So we can't complain about one segment and then ballyhoo another if it's all part of the same show. I think the shows as a whole have been very good, especially since they've all led to very good payoffs at pay-per-views. So I think with Roman, what we're getting here is a situation where he's got a contract up in 2023 in April following WrestleMania. They're trying to lock up a deal to have him there for a while. He's got aspirations to do things in Hollywood. He's also got a family that he's been away from a lot and he wants to see them a lot. He's also the top guy in the company. He's going to be that for a while and is holding the 2 top championships, so he can't really go anywhere. So he just needs the window to be able to spend time with his family. He needs the security of a little bit bigger long-term deal, and he needs the flexibility of less time on the road for the family stuff and for the other ventures such as Hollywood and things like that. So I think that Roman Reigns is going to be here all summer. We're not going to have to worry about him being gone. It wouldn't make any sense, especially with him having both titles. And it would really be a shame if he did take a break for the entire summer with those 2 titles. Now, if he did do that, one of the things that would make it a little bit acceptable, or not acceptable, but make things interesting in the summer, is that we may be seeing a change to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, the way that it is cashed in. Cody Rhodes said in an advertisement when he was in Allegiant Stadium saying that Money in the Bank will be held there, that the Money in the Bank winner is going to have themselves a main event at WrestleMania. Now, if I'm not mistaken, up until this point, the Money in the Bank winner cashed in whenever they felt like it for a championship match. Now they're waiting 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, whatever it is, until after the Royal Rumble to declare who they're going to be facing main event at WrestleMania. At first glance, this sounds like a bad idea. At second glance, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is a good evolution of the Money in the Bank because it makes the Money in the Bank match itself still very meaningful, but it also gives them an out in case the Money in the Bank winner is not the one who they want to push. You know, if the Money in the Bank winner wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, but then they want to swerve later, they can put the briefcase up in a match rather than a title, and they can feud over the briefcase. So it gives them another thing to feud over, especially if Roman Reigns is gone. It gives them basically a world title to feud over, even though it's not a title, it's just a briefcase that gets you a title shot. The other thing is it gets us away from how we were currently using the Money in the Bank, the current formula that's been going on for about 15 years now, where the Money in the Bank ladder match winner gets to cash in wherever and whenever they want to for their title shot. Now, guys like Dolph Ziggler have done this in the past. Guys like CM Punk, guys like Seth Rollins did it, and they cashed in on Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins won the championship. Having the novelty of having the up-and-coming star, the guy who's not getting pushed, or the people that the hardcore fans really want to get a title shot, but he's not getting it, and then having that surprise, that's been done so many times that WWE feels like it's not exciting anymore, and they want to add something new and exciting to the Money in the Bank match, new and exciting to the stipulation. So I don't think it's that bad of an idea. I do think it takes away from the excitement of it in a way, because there's so many people who really like the idea of somebody they like pulling out the win in that exciting 6-man ladder match that it always is, and then having them cash in at a very surprising time. So the element of surprise for this may be removed, which is a big thing to remove from pro wrestling. The element of surprise in wrestling is part of what makes it exciting sometimes. The element of surprise, even though we all knew what was going to happen at WrestleMania, some of us didn't. And at the end of the day, we were 99.9% sure. And that 0.01% that we weren't sure still made Cody Rhodes' re-debut at WrestleMania exciting as hell. So I just think that doing this with the Money in the Bank has its pluses and minuses. It gives them another thing to feud over, that being the top stars and the mid card guys. And it gives WWE an opportunity to decide whether the Money in the Bank winner is actually going to be the person cashing in, because they could swerve us and have somebody win the Money in the Bank and then it really be planned that they lose that Money in the Bank briefcase to somebody else in some kind of match, because maybe the guy who wins the Money in the Bank isn't the guy that everybody wants to win it like it usually is. Maybe it's some jerk that everybody thinks doesn't deserve it, and then they get in a feud with somebody else. So it's really another prop that creates another vehicle for feuding and storylines, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Yes, it's a little bit disconcerting and a little bit underwhelming that we're not going to see those surprise cash ins. I know people that just started getting back into WWE in the past year or so and haven't seen a true Money in the Bank cash in, and they really want to. So it's not something that they want to see change. There's other people that have been fans for years and are welcome to change. To each their own. I think there's not a wrong decision to do here, but I can see the pluses and minuses of both sides of it. I think that it's going to end up changing a little bit, and they are going to do the type of thing where they have it as a prop to be fought over, and the holder doesn't get to immediately cash in until a certain date. If it's WrestleMania, if they have to wait until after the Rumble winner declares and then declare who they're going to face at WrestleMania, I think that's a little bit much, a little bit long, but I think that it should be something that they use almost like a title. Whoever wins it has to defend it if they need to. If they're not going to cash it in, they need to defend it. I think that's like a stipulation they should put in. And then we can have lots of different things going on with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which we don't know what will happen with. So then we won't know who's going to eventually feud with the champion or what champion they will go after, provided there is two champions at that time. So going into this summer, I think that we're going to be okay. We're not going to miss Roman Reigns because he's not leaving. If he does leave, we will miss him a little bit, but I'm confident that we have guys that are in place that'll be able to step up and do some great things. I mean, they just look at Raw the other night. You can say what you want about the segments. You can say what you want about the DQs and the roll-ups and things like that. But they did everything they could to put everything into that show to advance storylines. They had Doudrop and Nikki Ash out there in a short match, lose the tag match so that they could cement the fact that they're going to change their gimmicks. It wasn't just them getting squashed. They're going to get a gimmick change and get a push there. They took a little time on those two. They took a little bit of time getting Alexa Bliss back involved. They took a little bit of time also having Sonya Deville lose her job and look completely distraught and lose the match very quickly. We all know Sonya Deville is way more capable in the ring than to lose in a couple moves from Alexa Bliss. It was the fact that she was distraught why she lost, not that she's terrible in the ring and not that she deserved to be squashed. She wasn't getting squashed and buried and about to be cut. It was all the circumstances of the story. It makes sense. I know that it's a little bit confusing the way it's presented sometimes by WWE because things happen so fast. We get our return of Alexa. She looks great. The other thing that I wanted to say about Alexa Bliss, she returned. She looks great. I think the music I thought was new, but then it sounded the same. But she did not have the Fiend character, makeup, costume, and all that getup on. But at the same time, Alexa Bliss also had the Lily doll. So WWE's bringing her back into the fold. She's wrestling. She's beating somebody in 2 minutes. And then I see the Lily doll, and it just goes to show you that must still be the number one selling merchandise thing that they have, because there's no reason for her to have it. It doesn't match her new gimmick. Do I have a problem with it? Absolutely not. I know there's a lot of kids that like that doll. It's just a little bit interesting to me to see it with her now, given the fact that I thought that she was changing out of the Fiend character gimmick. Regardless, I think it's great to see Alexa Bliss back, and I think it's great to see Sonya Deville be permanently back now as an in-ring competitor and not as the authority figure that she was. I do think that Adam Pearce could handle the job on his own, but they're going to introduce somebody else to be an authority figure there. Could be anybody. Heard all kinds of rumors. Paige, Trish Stratus, all these different things. I don't think that it's going to be a big name like that. It's got to be somebody who is good behind the mic. Sonya was outstanding behind the mic in her role as the GM. So we'll see what happens with that. But overall, I think that we're going to see Roman Reigns throughout the summer. We're going to see a change in Money in the Bank for the better. Probably not as big a change as been reported. Roman Reigns is going to be comfortable here. We're going to see a title change soon. Probably most likely at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, if not SummerSlam or the UK show. A lot of people think Drew McIntyre is going to face Roman at the UK show, but it's been widely rumored that Drew McIntyre is going to face Tyson Fury at the UK show. So I wonder if Drew McIntyre will win a title before then or not at all or after then. The other thing about the Tyson Fury stuff is I don't know if that's actually going to happen because they want to bring Drew McIntyre into the UK as a babyface. If he faces Tyson Fury, that's going to be difficult to position him as a babyface in that situation. If he goes against Roman Reigns, he's obviously the babyface in that situation. You want him to be the babyface in the UK. And now that these are real pay-per-views in the UK, not just UK-only shows that are essentially house shows done over there and don't really progress any of the storylines like we used to see back in the day with the Capital Carnage or whatever else they had over there. We are going to see storyline progression. So we can see a title change hands in the UK. We can see it happen at Saudi Arabia in October, which is another big show. So there's a lot of different things that could happen here. I do think that Cody is well on his way to getting a shot as well. The U.S. title match last night was a little bit predictable because we knew that Cody won by pulling Seth's tights. We knew Seth was probably going to be pissed off about that, being the heel that he is. And Seth came in and interrupted the match with Austin Theory. I was glad that we didn't end up with the tag team situation where we get interference by Rollins and then we get interference by Mustafa Ali or something like that. And we end up with Austin Theory and Rollins fighting against Ali and Cody Rhodes, because I just don't like it when they turn these singles matches into tag matches. I knew that they were going to do the disqualification in this match. It's fine because it furthers the story with Seth and Cody, and it's going to lead them to a Hell in a Cell match. Cody, Seth, round 3. And again, I think Cody will probably go over in here, continue to heat up. Seth's been doing some outstanding work. You can say what you want about how he dresses and his cackling and all that, but his character work is absolutely outstanding. He is definitely one of the best in the business across the board, and I'm glad that he's in WWE. Glad to be a fan of him. Hope everybody else feels the same way. If you don't like him, it's okay. We don't all like everybody. Now, moving on from that, we also have upcoming pay-per-views like Hell in the Cell. That's another one in an arena. I don't think they're going to put Roman in a Hell in a Cell match in this pay-per-view. I think that the Hell in a Cell match is probably going to be for the men, Edge and AJ Styles. For the women, I'm not really sure. The thing about that is that Roman needs to face an opponent that isn't a huge draw if he's going to face anybody at Hell in a Cell, because they don't want to have a big match like Drew McIntyre happen in Hell in a Cell in an arena and only be able to draw up to like 8 to 10,000 fans, maybe 12. I'm not sure what the arenas hold these days. They want to be able to do McIntyre in an open air stadium because this will draw 40, 60,000 people. Same with Cody Rhodes. They want to do this in a bigger stadium. So I think that for Hell in a Cell, that tease with Nakamura may lead us to a Nakamura Reigns match if Reigns does defend the title at Hell in a Cell. If he doesn't, then we're going to see him start to defend it at the bigger shows over the summer and we will probably see him lose one of the belts in some sort of fashion. I still think it's going to be a situation where he's in a triple threat. Both titles are on the line. Somebody else gets pinned in the triple threat. They earn the WWE title belt, and Roman Reigns ends up pinning somebody else later in the triple threat. It's a 2 out of 3 falls, and he retains his Universal belt, a lot like they did back when Kurt Angle was the European and Intercontinental Champion at the same time. He ended up getting into a triple threat match with Jericho and Benoit. The first person that made a pin won the Intercontinental belt. The second person that made a pin won the European belt. Benoit ended up making the first pin on Jericho. He won the Intercontinental belt. And then Jericho pinned Benoit later and won the European title belt. No pins ever were made to Kurt Angle, so he was well protected, but they got both of those titles off him just before he made his main top title run there. I think you could have somebody like McIntyre in a match with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. You could have McIntyre pin Seth Rollins to win the WWE title, and then you have Universal title retained by Roman Reigns when he pins Seth Rollins. That way you protect both champions. Neither one of them takes a pin. Both of them gets a belt. And really, Roman Reigns still reigns supreme at the end of it with the Universal title. So I could definitely see that happening. That's my sort of prediction for how they're going to get one of the titles off of Roman Reigns. The only other option I see is him dropping it and allowing a tournament to happen. But who knows? We'll see what happens. It's kind of exciting. I think WWE set up a lot of things for us to be excited about. They delivered a good WrestleMania. They delivered a great WrestleMania Backlash. And I think that we should all appreciate that and take that as a sign of good things are to come. The last thing that I'm going to get into is Ronda Rousey. I think we've all been real tough on Ronda Rousey. We've all been tough on Charlotte Flair. You know, they did not have that much of an energetic feud before WrestleMania or afterwards, but I think WWE really tried their damnedest to keep us interested. They had Drew Gulak out there to facilitate some heat, to make it a little bit comical, have both women beat him up a little bit. Depending on how you feel about all that, it definitely made those segments more interesting than they were. They were very boring before. Ronda just wasn't very energetic with her promos. But I think coming out of this, they set Ronda up in a good way. They set her up in an I Quit match so that she could use weapons and beat the heck out of one of the top heels in the company. They did the stuff with Gulak, like I said, to sort of keep the promos from being completely boring to the crowd, because I know a lot of people were pushing back on the promos. The WrestleMania match ended in a finish that was not favorable to Ronda and really wasn't fair to her. So now that she finally won that I Quit match the way that she did and really got the fans behind her, I think that now as a babyface, we should give her a chance to actually do something as a champion. And she came out of this I Quit match looking better than she did coming into any of this. And I think Charlotte Flair did a great job of hanging in there with the feud. Charlotte Flair has the kayfabe injury now of her radius, which is her wrist. And that is being told to us because she is going to take some time off so she can get married to Andrade from AEW. So that's what she's going to be doing. I don't think she's going to make an immediate return to challenge Ronda for a rematch. I think that we're going to get, maybe if we're lucky, a returning Bayley this Friday. But if we're not, Lacey Evans and other heels on the roster can certainly take on Ronda. I think that Ronda Rousey really did put in a lot of work to try to get better during this period of time. You have to remember, she only was a pro wrestler for a year before she started doing this. Never been somebody who wanted to really be behind the microphone. They put her in a babyface position because that's what the networks wanted them to do. They did that. She may or may not have liked that, but regardless, Ronda Rousey, like I said, only had 1 year in-ring experience before this, and then she comes in, they get her in some tag matches to protect her a little bit for the Saudi Arabia show. they do the match at WrestleMania, which was a good match. It just wasn't spectacular, and it really wasn't in the realm of what Ronda Rousey is great at. Ronda Rousey is not an in-ring wrestler, at least not for the vast majority of her life. Ronda Rousey is a shoot fighter. So put her in an I Quit match, and she blends right in. That was an outstanding I Quit match they had at Backlash. I thought that match was one of the better women's I Quit matches, if not the best women's I Quit match I've seen in years or ever. I really think that gave Ronda some nice shine and really started her off good as the new SmackDown Women's Champion. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I'm not interested in crapping all over Ronda Rousey as the champion while she's on TV for the next couple of months. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to embrace the feud she's in. And we're going to see something exciting. If we don't, then we know damn well WWE is going to recognize it and do something about it. They recognized that the promos weren't going very well, and they did something about it. They got Drew Gulak in there, and they, toyed around with some stuff, and they made it a little bit interesting. They knew that this match needed something extra. They made it an I Quit match. They gave us that, and that worked out pretty well. So I think WWE is on good track here. There's not everything they're going to do perfectly, like I said earlier. But anytime we see something we don't like, we had to think to ourselves, well, there's got to be somebody who likes this, or it wouldn't be on TV. Because the golden rule with wrestling, and I learned this really young, I think my friend's father told me, because he used to take me to live events as a child. And he said, the one thing with wrestling is that if it makes on TV, it's supposed to happen. Because at the time, there was a lot of stuff that would happen on TV that was reported or not supposed to be have made on TV, or that was off the script or whatever. And at the end of the day, if something happens on TV in wrestling, it's supposed to happen, regardless if it was planned or not. So when stuff comes on the TV that really isn't appealing to us, just remember that somebody else may like it. But at the end of the day, we don't have to like everything. We just need to like what the main feuds are. We need to get some storytelling so that way we can have meaningful feuds. I think WWE's working in the right direction with that. I'm happy to see it. I'm really excited for a lot of the things that are going to be happening here. Now, I promised myself I would only go about 30 minutes, and we're nearing 40 here. So what we're going to do is stop now with the extra news today, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow with some more Beyond the Mat. I'll have Kyle here with me to go over some more stories. We'll dive deeper into the Roman Reigns situation, get a little bit deeper with the Money in the Bank, the Ronda Rousey, everything that happened at Backlash, fallout from that, what's happening with some storylines that we saw get highlighted on Raw, and of course, what's ahead for us, what's going on SmackDown. I'm going to be at SmackDown this week, so like I said, we won't have an immediate SmackDown reaction, but we will have a SmackDown show, obviously, on Saturday. We're also going to be coming out with our retro shows pretty soon. We're going to continue to crank out the content for you guys because it's fun and we like engaging with you. Remember to follow us on any podcast platform. We're the Beyond the MATT podcast. We're also on social media at Beyond Matt WWE. Please leave us a 5-star review. Leave a rating if you have a little bit of time. Happy to be here to answer any emails that you guys have on our weekly review show. That's when we do that. Just email matt@beyondthemat.com and I will plug you into the show and we'll address the question that you have. I'm here for you guys and I enjoy you guys listening to me. Thanks a lot for joining me tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night and take it easy.
I think I'm going to go to the nearest nudie bar and have a drink.